So Joyful Heart Blissful Life was birthed out of a culmination of almost 25 years now experience working with people of all ages with all kinds of health issues and dis-ease processes, ranging from anxiety to migraines to pain, rheumatoid arthritis, painful B syndromes, we call it in Chinese medicine, and just as well as children and fertility, just a wide range of ailments really that affect people and their lives. And people have always kidded with, joked with me about, making a book or a class because I end up, talking all day about all these different things as questions arise. And so Joyful Heart, Blissful Life was really birthed from the questions that people were asking, over all these years. There's a lot of similarities in the questions. How do I heal myself? How do I get out of this situation? How do I create a new life? How do I have less angst in my everyday activities? And I think what ended up sort of becoming this class, the reason I call it a culmination of things, is because it's a varied class with very different tools to offer. Different people respond to different things, and so I tried to take the idea of different things, different tools being applicable to certain people and certain people's lives and situations, and put them into one class. The premise of the class, I would say, relates to heart-brain coherence at the end of the day. It is about trying to help the nervous system to find its homeostatic balance again, to find its groundedness, for people to be able to utilize breath work and breathing, qigong, and heart math, as well as just what I call the shift to sync process, which is the ability to shift your heart and your mind into a new state of being, creating a new reality or a new way of being in your reality that is more symbiotic to your true nature, that is grounded, that is coherency, that is calm, that is loving and compassionate, standing in truth, and welcoming the opportunity to move in and out and throughout your day with varied experiences with different people, different situations, yet being able to return to a heart-brain coherent state through the shift to sync process of shifting your thoughts to create a different scenario, to create a different energy that then your heart and your brain can find a coherent state. And in doing that, we use qigong, we use heart math, we use meditation and breath work and thoughtful, mindful practices that can help anchor new neural pathways and new neuroplasticity that creates framework that then you can recreate a new state of being or a new state of reacting to something in your life that is either stressful or a block or something that you're wishing to change. Yes, shift to sync. I feel like it's maybe one of the most, one of the proudest things that I've, sort of culminated and put together. Basically, it's nothing new information under the sun, right? There's no new information under the sun, but I think that there is different ways that people relate to ideas that are sort of realized in many different planes of existence, or personalities talking about it, meaning online or in classes, in books, talking about mindfulness and this whole idea of heart-brain coherence that we talked about in the class, with the breath, with Qigong, just ways of bringing the nervous system back into that homeostasis. But I think that shift to sync birthed from me deciding that there could be some process to this idea. 7 steps, to cultivating a change in your personality, and in the way that you think, or the way that you feel, the way that you react, and then therefore creating sort of a new reality around you. Some of the ideas definitely come from the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza and Becoming Supernatural. There's also, the teachings of Chen, who we studied, Master Chen, who we studied with and went to China with, for the Qigong component. It was also very comprehensive sort of understanding of how your mind and your intention and your energy creates the field around you, and therefore creates, basically the law of attraction and other sort of ideas of that nature. How do you function inside of your own chi bubble, I call it. And then if that was a magnet that was putting off, thoughts and emotions and feelings and energy into the world, and you wanted this to be sort of your radiating field of what you want to come back to you. Well, when things aren't working out, or when there's a disease process and we're stuck in fear or anger or resentment or anxiety, how do we change these things so that we can change our health and do something different? In 2020, I had a personal experience with what became known as early COVID for myself, which turned on a lot of sort of health issues for me. The long COVID, which we didn't even know at that time what it was, but I sort of had an autoimmune disease that came on, Hashimoto's syndrome, which relates to the thyroid, for those of you that don't know. But it was an adventure, to say the least. It was like this COVID, then this autoimmune piece, and then all of these complications that now we know of as long COVID or things of that nature. So while I was laying there trying to heal myself in the midst of all of this chaos and all of these things that I could no longer do, like, simple task of standing and taking care of myself, or cooking for my family, things of that nature, playing with my children, became a real challenge. And I laid there, often laid, because sitting was even hard for many, many days and weeks. I tried to figure out, how could I use these tools that I knew from my past and combine them into something that could help me launch some sort of healing within myself. And Shift to Sync sort of birthed out of that, because I was reading Dr. Joe's book, like I mentioned, and then I was doing some meditations, and I was reflecting through my notes from studying with Chen, and sort of the Taoist philosophies on mindfulness and understanding the nature of qi and energy, and how that works within your system, and how you can use that to help yourself heal or not. And so I was putting all of these things together, and this process, this sort of 7-step idea or process, came to be as I was sitting with these different ideas. And that is really what Shift to Sync is about. It's about transforming your health, your life, understanding false beliefs or narratives that you've been running as an undercurrent within your own subconscious, which has become sort of your conscious reality. And then how do you transform those? How do you transcend those? How do you identify them and then shift into something else in order to create another version of your situation in a more lighted or transformed way, so that you can move the obstacle, or you can move yourself if you're the obstacle of just your thoughts and your processing around being stuck or in your health issue. How do you move those things so that you can realize it, identify it, and then transform those thoughts into something else so that you can create a different reality, and then surrender into that divine nature of understanding within you, and the divine nature of transformation. And then following that, looking at the potentials and the possibilities that if this chi around you, the thoughts and the processes that are in your bubble, if they're being projected out, then what are the possibilities that could come back if we choose to shift and sink into a heart-brain coherent place that then allows you to make the change, to make the shift, to make the transformation that you've been dreaming and make that a reality. And there is the shift to sync process.